How are you doing? Welcome back to Dave's Details for the Matrix Martial Arts YouTube channel. Today, this is going to be episode 3, I think. And again, I'm just going over some little bits and pieces that can help some people out. Now today I'm going to talk about guards, as in guarding stances. Just so people understand that there is a difference between when guards appear in patterns and when you do them for, say, freestyle combinations, or when you're doing inline kicks, when you do formal testings, or when you are in sparring, okay? Because they are different. They are different. Okay, so number one, we'll deal with your essentially everything but kata guard. Okay, so when you're inline doing your kicks, we are left foot forwards first. You do your kicks off, you know, that way. Then you do your swap. When you stand in that guard, it is how you are most comfortable for the kicks that you are doing. Okay? When we do freestyle combinations, generally speaking, it's not that dissimilar. When you do sparring, again, you stand how is comfortable for your sparring style. Okay? So for me, no, again, this is not going to be the same as everyone, because everyone stands differently, everyone does this slightly differently. Okay. So when I do traditional kick, when I do formal kicks, inlines, four and change, that kind of business, okay, my guarding stance is about here. It's sort of, I turn my back foot out a little bit, it's very sort of almost back stance and foot shape, but my weight's sort of down the middle, it's quite short, it's not linear, I'm not in a one line stance, I still have my two lines going, but it's just comfy. Okay. I'm not standing trying to do traditional kicks from here, and I'm not trying to definitely do them from a front stance, that's really weird. Okay? So it's a relaxed stance, I'm happy here, I'm angled torso, I'm not standing square like a boxer stance. Okay? But if I'm doing my front kicks, it'll pivot round and it goes back. Okay? If I do my back kick, I've got enough space to turn my hips out so I can look to shoot the kicks. Okay? But that's about where I am. Okay? But again, that's just me. Some people might stand a bit shallower, some people might stand a bit squarer, just their feet, that's fine. Okay? But it's where you are comfortable. Okay? When you do your formal kicks, as long as you're one foot in front of the other, we're not drastically fussy. But we will point out, if you're standing feet together, yeah, it's wrong, because you're just going to get both feet taken out from under you. But just the same as, if you're trying to do kicks from like a full front stance, that's a lot of extra effort that's quite unnecessary. Okay. Again, my stance does not change much for if I'm doing freestyle combinations. So if I'm over here and it's not all mixed, my stance in between stuff is the same. It's just a 50-50 weighted shallow back stance. That's roughly how I work. Okay, but yours might be slightly different. Okay, but freestyle, sparring, basics, they do not have to be kata stances, okay, just so you know. Okay, sparring, again, you spar how you like, but again, there's pros and cons of various things. So some people do tend to lean a lot in sparring, and they want to be kind of this kind of idea. They have one sort of floating hand and one hand back. That's more of a hand thing than a stance thing. But just because they're a defensive fighter, they want to try and keep out the way. They want to cover up here, and they want to go counters in or shoot away. Okay. It's not a great way to spar, to be honest, but just the same as some people, if they're an aggressive fighter, they lean forward, they go very boxer stance, they go very square, because they always want to progress, okay, because they have a different mentality for it. But again, none of them, not very many, want to be in, trying to spar like this. It's too long, it's quite impractical for a lot of things, okay? It means you've got to do a lot of bounces to try and keep light on your feet. When you can be just as light if you're in shallow stance, because it means your weight is closer to the middle. Just makes your life a little easier. Okay? However, when guards turn up in patterns in your katas, they are exactly the same as your double knife hand blocks, just with your hands closed. That is the difference. Okay, we want to be nice and congruent through our system. Okay, so when we do, let's take Tangun as an example, you'd start in your chumbi, high fold here, this tucks in, this one's right angle, back stance, and it's here. flat in the middle of my chest, V-shape arm, bladed hand, okay? Not that. People do this and spread the fingers and cup and all this weird stuff. Yeah, they're called knife hands because they're going to be flat and sharp like knives. Okay? Okay. When you do kata guard, same motion. This is the starting shape with hands closed. Fingers in first, thumb on top. Not that. Okay? And then it follows the same path, same shape. V-shape arm, straight here. Yeah, you're not crooking your wrist, bending in funny directions, and that is upturned, fingers towards chin, nice and flat. Okay? If I open my hand from here, it's the knife block that I had. Yeah, that's your difference. Okay? So when you're doing kata stuff, when you're doing your patterns, okay? Here's my knife block. Here's my kata guard. Okay? They always turn up in back stances, so don't worry about that. Okay? But for everything else, you stand comfortable for how your body works, how your hips work. Okay? Because if you're, say, 8-year-old Johnny, how a child's hips works and how they stand and stuff like that is completely different to a beginner that's, say, a 35-year-old person who's maybe carrying a bit of extra body. Yeah, you stand differently. Okay, it's got to be comfortable and workable for your height, width, depth, age, flexibility, power, strength, speed, all that kind of stuff. Yeah? It's got to be comfortable for you. Okay, but we specify hand positions, foot positions, etc. Kata guards, pattern guards. Everything else is how you stand when you're comfortable. Okay? If you want to be really narrow when you spar, if you want to have short footwork and move around quick like a boxer does, great. Chances are that does tell me that you're going to be hands heavy and not kick very much. Okay? Because you haven't quite got the same sort of drive. Okay? But it also means that if it's very narrow, it's very easy to take your feet out from when you go. Okay? There's pros and cons all the way along the way. So you've got to find where you sit comfy, what works best for you, what works best for your freestyle combinations, what works best for your sparring stuff, and where you are most balanced and most structured for your basic kicks, regardless of what kicks you are doing. Okay? Yeah, it's got to be right for you to show you off at your best. Okay? So that's the details for today, just on guards. Just make sure people understand that stuff patterns is not the same as stuff for everything else that you do a guard with. Okay? Thanks very much, have fun. See you next time.